Welcome to the Configure Price Quote Podcast. My name is Frank Sohn and I'm the founder of Novus CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. Thanks for tuning in. Today's episode will be a bit different from our usual interview format. It's just you and me, and I want to talk to you through something I've been working on for quite a while, the CPQ Sales Report. Now, this is not meant to be a sales pitch. Think of this episode as a reference guide you can come back to when you're in a situation where you have to evaluate CPQ solutions, support a sales cycle, or explain a vendor to your internal stakeholders. By the end of this episode, you should know 5 things. First, what the CPQ Sales Report is and who it's for. 2, what's inside the report and what value it provides. 3rd, when it makes sense to use it in your day-to-day work. 4, where you can find it. And 5th, and briefly, how it's different from the CPQ Briefing Subscription, which you may have heard me mention in other contexts and in a previous episode. I also share which reports are available today and which ones will be released soon, plus more updates planned for the new year. So let's jump in. Let's start with why I created the CPQ Sales Report and for whom it is. So if you work with CPQ, you know this already, right? There is no shortage of vendors, there's no shortage of buzzwords, and there's definitely no shortage of confusion. So you might be a buyer, maybe you're in sales operations, IT, product management, finance, and you've been asked to shortlist a couple of vendors, right? So, or come back with a recommendation. Or you may be a system integrator who needs to quickly get up to speed on a vendor so you can decide, do we want to partner with them? Where does this solution fit? Or you might be a CPQ vendor and you need something that explains your solution in a structured, neutral way that you can share with prospects or partners. What I kept seeing in the market as this gap between high-level generic analyst comments on one side and value sales-driven vendor collateral on the other side. So there wasn't much in the middle that was focused on a single vendor, was written from a neutral industry analyst perspective and practical enough that the sales team, a buyer, a partner, could actually use it in a real sales cycle. So that's the role of the CPQ Sales Report. So now let's look, who is it for? It's for 3 different folks, right? So number 1, CPQ buyers, people who are responsible for evaluating and recommending a CPQ solution. Number 2, sales teams and pre-sales teams at CPQ vendors who want a neutral, credible document to help explain their solution to prospects and internal stakeholders. And number 3, system integrators and advisory consultants who need to quickly understand where a solution fits and when to bring it into a client conversation. If you ever thought, I wish I had a concise, independent document that explains the CPQ solution clearly so I can share it internally, then you're exactly the audience I had in mind. Now let's look at what is actually in the CPQ Sales Report and what value does it provide. Let's talk about what you actually get when you buy a CPQ Sales Report. Each report is a 20-page document that focuses on one specific CPQ solution. It's written in a vendor-neutral, fact-based and non-salesy tone. No hype, no magic quadrants, no we guarantee 300% ROI in 6 weeks type of language. Instead, the goal is to answer very practical questions like, what does the CPQ solution do particularly well? What kinds of customers and use cases is it a good fit for? Which type of complexity can it handle? For example, product configuration, pricing, subscriptions, visualization, engineering, integration, or industry-specific needs. Where should the buyer look more closely? What are some considerations or questions to ask this vendor? How does this solution typically fit into a product quote to cash or revenue stack? The value for you is that you get a clear and structured overview of the vendor and their CPQ offering, a neutral perspective based on many years of working in the CPQ space, and 3rd, a document you can share inside your organization with your manager, your team, your IT, finance, regional stakeholders, so you don't have to rewrite everything yourself. So you can think of it as a focused, practical mini guide for one specific CPQ solution written so you can actually use it in real conversations. So if you're on the buyer side, you can use it to quickly understand whether a vendor is likely to fit your needs. Use it to align your internal team so everyone talks about the vendor based on the same facts. And use it to prepare for vendor demos and Q&A because you know what to look for and which questions to ask. And if you're on the vendor side, you can use it as a third-party independent content source that you can reference with prospects. Use it to brief new sales reps or partners, and use it as a starting point for enablement material, especially for complex or niche capabilities that are hard to explain in 2 slides. And again, the goal is not to be cheerleading. It is to be clear, honest, and useful so that you can make better decisions and have better conversations. Okay, so then now let's look at when does it make sense to use a CPQ sales report. Let's talk about timing. When should you actually pull out the CPQ sales report? Here are a few typical scenarios I see. Number 1, build a final shortlist with 3 potential CPQ solutions, right? That means you've identified CPQ vendors, maybe from the CPQ Briefing Subscription, referrals you got from business partner suggestions, or a web search, like a Google search or something like that. Before you invest time in demos, workshops, and long internal discussions, you want to understand the strengths and focus of each solution before you see the demo and go really deep into and late into the decision-making process. So a CPQ sales report helps you to see whether their solution fits your industry, business model, and complexity, and you avoid spending too much time evaluating a solution that was never a good fit in the first place. It's also internal alignment and business case, right? So very often one person or a small team does most of the research and then has to convince the others. So for example, a CFO wants to know what exactly are we buying and why do we buy from this vendor. IT wants to know how does this fit into our architecture. And sales leadership wants to know how is this going to help our reps to sell more. Instead of creating your own 20-page internal summary, you can use the CPQ sales report as a shared reference document that everyone reads, a basis for discussion. You can highlight the parts that matter most to your organization, and an attachment to your business case or a project proposal. And third is support for partners and vendors. If you're a system integrator and you're thinking about building or expanding a partnership with a CPQ vendor, the report can help you understand where this vendor fits into your portfolio. Decide which type of customers you should bring them into. And then train your client-facing team so they talk about the solution consistently. If you're a CPQ vendor, you can use the report internally to get the structured outside view of your solution. Use it selectively with prospects who appreciate independent assessments, and use it with partners who need a concise, neutral overview for their own sales efforts. At the bottom line is you don't need a CPQ sales report every day, right? But when you're at those decision points, building the final shortlist, aligning stakeholders, preparing a business case, or enabling partners, it can save you time, misunderstandings, and missed expectations. Now a short note on this, how this differs from the CPQ Briefing Subscription, right? Some of you might be familiar with this or have heard another CPQ podcast episode where I was talking about the CPQ Briefing Subscription. And I want to keep this very short because the focus today is on the CPQ Sales Report, but it's useful to clarify the difference. The CPQ Sales Report is a deep dive on a single vendor. It's something you can use as sales collateral, internal reference, or decision support for that one solution. The CPQ Briefing Subscription is more like a library of many shorter briefing documents across many vendors and some add-on solutions. It's subscription-based and meant for ongoing competitive intelligence and keeping up to date with the market, as well as determining the initial 8 to 10 CPQ vendors that are worth a closer look for your team. So if you want to go deep on one specific vendor and use a report directly in a sales cycle or a business case, the CPQ Sales Report is usually the better fit. If you want to keep a broad market overview and have access to a growing collection of briefings across many vendors, then the CPQ Briefing Subscription might be more interesting. For this episode, we'll stay focused on the sales report. Okay, so now let's look at which CPQ sales reports are available and what's new and upcoming. What's actually available today, as right now there are CPQ sales reports available for a number of different vendors. It's Camos software, it's Bid to Win, it's Excite CPQ, it's Engineering Intent, it's SAP, it's Salesforce Revenue Cloud Advanced, and Nui.io. These are all written in the same structured neutral style, so if you've used one of them, you feel at home with the others. A couple of important updates here. The Excite CPQ sales report was updated in August, so if you've seen an earlier version, be aware that there's a newer edition that reflects more current capabilities and positioning. And the Camos software report is also being updated as we speak, and the new version is coming soon. And I'm also happy to announce that a new CPQ sales report for Revelize is in the final stages and is planned to be released soon as well. Looking ahead to the new year, there are more updates and new reports planned with the goal to expand coverage to more CPQ vendors, keep existing reports up to date, and make it easier for you to find a relevant report when you're working on a specific shortlist or a project. So if you're listening to this episode months from now, there might already be more vendors covered than the ones I just mentioned. Just keep that in mind. Now, the sixth question I wanted to address is where to find the CPQ sales report. It's very straightforward. You can go to novuscpq.com and you look in the main navigation for CPQ sales report, and on that page you will see which vendor reports are currently available, basic information about each report, and how to purchase and download them. If you prefer, you can also just search for Novus CPQ sales report and it should lead you directly to the relevant page. And if you have questions or you're unsure whether a specific report is a good fit for your situation, you can always just reach out to me directly. I'm happy to tell you when a report is not necessary for what you're doing. That's completely fine as well. Now, setting the right expectations. Let me close with this. The CPQ sales report is not meant to replace your own evaluation, your own demos, or your own internal discussions. It's meant to support them. It gives you a neutral, structured view of a specific CPQ solution, a document you can share internally, and a way to save time when you're preparing shortlists, business case, or partner enablement. I also want to stress again that I aim to keep these reports vendor neutral, fact-based, and practical, rather than marketing-driven. So if at any point you find yourself thinking, we're looking at vendor X or Y, I wish I had the solid independent overview I could share with my team, then I invite you to remember this episode and check the CPQ sales report section on novuscpq.com and see if there's a report that fits. If there isn't one for the vendor you're interested in, you can still reach out and let me know. That kind of feedback is helpful when I prioritize future reports. All right, that's it for today. For today's solo episode, I hope this gave you a clear picture of what the CPQ sales report is, who it's for, what's inside, when to use it, where to find it, and how it differs from the CPQ Briefing Subscription. As always, thanks for listening to the CPQ Podcast. If you have questions, ideas, or feedback, or if there's a CPQ vendor you'd like to see covered, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or via novuscpq.com. Until next time, take care and good luck with your CPQ initiatives. I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novuscpq.com. So long, everyone.